Scientists genetically engineered a cow that can produce human insulin directly in its milk. This innovative approach could solve insulin shortages and high prices that plague many countries. Currently, diabetics rely on insulin synthesized in bacteria within complex laboratory settings. The new method harnesses the cow's natural milk production capabilities as a biological factory for human proinsulin, the precursor to insulin. Surprisingly, the cow's mammary gland even performed the conversion to active insulin. This proof of concept study demonstrated the remarkable potential for transgenic cows to produce massive quantities of insulin. The researchers inserted a segment of human DNA responsible for pro-insulin production into cow embryos. The resulting transgenic calf demonstrated the ability to secrete both human proinsulin and insulin in its milk. A single liter of milk contains enough insulin that could meet the needs for a diabetic patient for several years. Researchers envision a future where relatively small herds of these special cows could drastically lower insulin production costs and potentially meet global demand. Unlike current bacterial production methods, this approach wouldn't require sophisticated facilities. While further research and regulatory approvals are needed, the scientists are optimistic. This development could herald a new era of insulin availability, making this life-saving medication a reality for all diabetics, regardless of location or income. A company named Colossal Biosciences is bringing back the woolly mammoth. They have developed a set of Asian elephant stem cells that could potentially transform into the cells needed to recreate a mammoth. During the last ice age, woolly mammoths were the absolute kings of the wild, wandering across Eurasia and even as far south as the modern-day Midwest. Thanks to some well-preserved mammoth fossils, scientists have isolated DNA fragments from these ancient creatures. With advancements in decoding this genetic treasure trove, there's been talk of recreating a mammoth. One of the big hurdles is figuring out just what each of those mammoth genes does, such as genes that determine their tusks and fur. That's where the elephant stem cells come into play. Researchers managed to produce just the right stem cells they need to dive further into this mammoth-sized adventure. The Mammoth Resurrection Project has raised some ethical questions, not to mention the tricky issue of who gets to decide which species gets a second chance. How will a mammoth, if one is indeed born, adapt and behave like a mammoth? It's not just about the genes. Modern elephants are social creatures, passing along survival skills and passing down cultural knowledge. Their ancient cousins could be similar. For example, mammoth babies wouldn't have any elders to guide them or teach them how to be mammoths, and that raises thoughts about the welfare of these potential new members of the animal kingdom, if they happen to make it into the world. Others have posed a serious ethical question. Should we use our resources to revive extinct animals or allocate them to protect endangered ones?
Foxes and humans were once best friends. They lived and died alongside each other, according to a new study. In northwestern Argentina, an ancient grave dating back about 1,500 years revealed an unusual bond between humans and animals. Instead of a dog, a person was buried alongside a large extinct fox species called Ducician avus. This surprising discovery suggests these foxes may have been domesticated companions, similar to today's dogs. Scientists originally found the nearly complete fox skeleton in 1991, but only recently confirmed its species and age through DNA analysis. Intriguingly, the fox shared a similar diet to the humans, indicating it was likely fed by them or scavenged their food scraps. This, along with its careful burial, implies this fox was a cherished pet within the hunter-gatherer community. This discovery adds to evidence from other parts of the world, suggesting ancient humans occasionally tamed foxes in a similar way to dogs. While the exact reason for Ducician avus's extinction remains unclear, it's possible the arrival of dogs brought by European colonizers played a role. Competition for resources or diseases introduced by the dogs may have contributed to their decline. Foxes, with their keen senses and cunning nature, were likely drawn to human settlements by the promise of readily available food scraps and shelter. In return, humans could have benefited from the fox's presence by adopting them as early forms of pest control, hunting rodents and other small animals that threatened food supplies. Over time, this symbiotic relationship deepened, with foxes appearing in human folklore and mythology as symbols of cleverness and survival, embodying traits that humans admired and emulated.